Now, when it comes to the coronavirus and how some people view how we should have dealt with it, there are, of course, classic rifts in Australian politics between those who believe in the nation-state first and those who believe that we are all part of a global, borderless community. The people who believe that essentially there's no such thing as illegal immigration. The types of people who believe, well, I don't trust our local politicians, instead I trust the overseas ones because I like the cut of their jib more. The people who believe that the United Nations should have way more say in how we deal with things. But I was interested to see an opinion poll that came out today from a left-leaning opinion poll site that was even published in the Turnbull Times. It shows that the majority of Australians who vote Liberal passionately believe that the best way to deal with a pandemic or global threats is for Australia to have an independent economy, to deal with things in our own way. Put simply, Australia first versus the globalists, the nationalists versus the globalists. For LNP voters, 54-46. For Labor voters, 52-48. But when it comes to the Greens, they are the globalists. They are the ones who a margin of 60 to 40. Put simply, their voters are more passionate about globalism, more passionate about a borderless, stateless world than the rest of us. The Greens are dangerous because they would trade away our national sovereignty, our right to be able to be a free country in order to go with the herd somewhere else. They want the luxury of living in other parts of the world by living by their systems, with the luxury of living in the 21st century freedom and safety that is here in Australia. It's why I believe the Greens should always go last. It's why I believe the Queensland LNP made a massive mistake by preferencing the Greens over the Labor Party in the seat of South Brisbane at the last election. Sure, Jackie Trad was a problem, but the Greens are worse. It's why I rail against the Labor Party, who will pretend every election that they're going to war with the Greens, but without the Greens' votes, they don't get the preferences, they don't therefore get the seats. Now, yes, the supporters of the Greens are younger, and therefore, while they think they're a little more worldly, they haven't lived the life to understand why we think what we think, why we believe what we believe. But remember, these voters are the most recent products of the education system, are the ones that so much of our media is catered to. These are the people who are the sooks who scream on social media and the people who believe that every opinion they disagree with should be shredded from the record. And even when a pandemic that has killed 1 million people is rolling around the world, and our natural advantage was being an island, and we had the ability to close a border, police the border and make sure that the threat stayed off our shores, even after they have seen that we have not had the death toll as other parts of the world, they still say that they would have preferred if it was done on the global level. And the question for the Greens is, who would be in charge of the global level? Because your two major superpowers are China or the United States, and we know you hate the United States. Or do you believe that there is a more powerful wokosphere that somehow is going to be able to take over? The Greens are dangerous. At every opportunity, we must fight them and put them last, because let's be clear, their game is that they hope that we die out, but if they can ever get into a position of power, they will kill us off, politically, verbally, metaphorically, for those Greens voters about to yell at me on Twitter.